Zest is in, where resilience begins, not fixing the cracks.
Hello everyone and welcome to Zest is in with me, Shel, the podcast that'll take you on a journey from the hustle to the harmony, fueling your passion whilst finding your peace. I am so excited for you to meet my beautiful guest, Niaby. She is a conscious thought leader, visionary dream weaver, which I want to find out more about, and transformational mentor known as the influencer behind the influencers. After spending 12 years as a stockbroker in London and Hong Kong, burnout and chronic ill health unfortunately became a catalyst for profound awakening that completely transformed the course of her life. Through her deeply intuitive and consciousness-led work, she now helps leaders and high-visibility individuals move from performance to presence, reconnecting with the truth of who they came here to be. Together, I'm sure we will explore identity, subconscious transformation, conscious leadership, the power of dreams, and what it truly means to create impact from alignment rather than external validation. If you feel called, please share a little love by helping amplify my beautiful guest voice today by subscribing to future episodes. It costs you nothing, just a click of the button, but it allows this episode and all the others that follow it and all the others previously to reach many more hearts and minds. So may this episode bring you the clarity, self-trust, encourage you to honor who you truly are. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you so much, and what an introduction. So thank you for that, and thank you for having me as a guest on the show.
You are so welcome, my darling. And gosh, where do we even begin? I'm ready. There's so many things I want to ask you. Let's start with the dream weaver. I think that really definitely is something that I'm really curious about. And even though we can all make assumptions and I can guess, and of course I've read your bio, but I love to just know from the beautiful woman herself, where did that all begin?
Yeah, thank you. And I also never know where to start when it comes to my, where do I go with this? When I'm trying to introduce it. So yeah, the dream weaver. So yeah, basically, as a dream weaver, I am able to access people's subconscious through the dream state. So I use the dream state is a gateway to the subconscious mind. So basically, when I go to sleep, and when somebody else goes to sleep, whether it's a client or I work with clients on a very deep level, but I also called into so many different people's dreams, people that I haven't met, haven't spoke to in 20 years, or just anyone like that really has the capacity to have me called into their dreams. And just to say on that as well, it's a very aligned thing. I'm not forcing or pushing myself.
Of course.
It's very much it's a conversation between the higher selves of when a person is ready to receive some healing. But basically that's what I do. So I get called into somebody's dreams, or I've made an agreement with a client to go into their dreams, and when I go in there, I go in there and I help to shift trauma, help to change limiting beliefs and perspectives. So if you think, I'm sure many of your listeners will know something about the subconscious mind, but if you think the subconscious mind is like a filing cabinet, if you like. It's from every experience you've had in the day, even just watching the TV, all of that gets filed somewhere, and it not only does it get filed, it gets filed with a belief system or an emotion, or what have you. So this is a storage system for every day of your life, for every you've had, past, continuous and parallel, whatever. It's a huge storage system, and that storage system has limiting beliefs attached. It has the emotions, negative, positive, etc., etc. So what I do when I go into the dream state, it's almost like I go into those files and you're like, right, let's look at some of these files. Let's see, them can just come up and go. We don't need that anymore. Let's just let it go. Wow. And when these files are coming up, it's like the file becomes the releasing of the file becomes the dream itself. So the experience that a person, when you're starting to have the dream and you're like, where did that dream come from? It's actually when I'm working with them, it's the lifting or the unlocking of these stored files. So as I say, some will just be able to let go of, some will be almost like NLP work. We can sit within the dream and we can say, okay, you had this belief, now let's change the neural pathways to help understand that belief that you had. You assigned that belief as a child who didn't understand where your parents were coming from when they spoke to you in that way, or whatever they've whatever the experience is. So we can flip that experience and the understanding of that experience on its head through the dream, and help them to have a different perspective. Or we can go deeper with that, and some of it is more, the more deeply traumatic experiences that people have held. And again, some people might say, I don't have that much trauma, but as I say, it's not just this life, it's many other lives. And even compounding trauma, actually, people don't understand that sometimes how much say for example, every day you're missing your train, your alarm's going up in the morning, you're stressed, you don't want to get out of bed, you're hitting that snooze button, you're running for the train, you miss the train, or you're stressed. That actually, when I go in and experience that as a dream weaver, going in to shift that kind of trauma, which people wouldn't understand is trauma, but because of the accumulation, the day after day, that kind of accumulative trauma is actually, for me as a dream weaver going in, more stressful to deal with than some of the darker traumas. Of course, if it's a compounding, if somebody's had a dark trauma and it's again accumulative, then that's going to be way worse. But one dark trauma versus the accumulative trauma, I do call it trauma, of stress, everyday stress. Actually, as a dream weaver, for me, when I go in, sometimes that's quite intense.
Sounds like a whirlwind.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's the level of stress and anxiety, and again, I'm going to use that word trauma, that has compounded within the body, within the energy field. There's a that actually needs to be shifted. So yeah, even people who don't necessarily think, I don't have that much trauma, actually, everybody does.
Well, that's heavily suppressed, isn't it? Like with a lot, from what I'm obviously, not to put words in your mouth, but what I'm hearing from what you're saying is there's things that we're very unconscious about, that are stored, that are blockages, and that's what you're identifying. And then there's what we think is, gosh, gotta get up again. And that's like tense, like, yeah, I can imagine the tense energy of that, and it's kind of like yeah
it's that kind of accumulative trauma is running the show. I mean, all trauma, that stress, that anxiety, and for anyone who knows the law of attraction here, what happens there is the more stressed you are in an experience that you're having. So again, I'm just using that, keep missing the train, I keep missing the bus, why am I what I do, I keep being late. But what's happening there is the intense energy that you are carrying in your energetic field is vibrating at that level of stress. It's vibrating at the level of more. Exactly.
Law of attraction. Yeah.
Exactly. So so they're just compounding more and more those
and more and more evidence for the mind to say, see, yeah, it is you. You always, all those absolutes come up. Oh gosh, yeah. I'm not saying I don't experience that anymore, but there was a time where I was heavily in that pattern, and not realizing that I very much was creating pretty much a lot of what was happening in my life. And as we all know, it's never a linear journey. It's a lovely roller coaster life, but I'm conscious of it now. And when I notice, I'm like, okay, Shelley, what have you been saying? What have you been thinking? How are you behaving? And I take the full responsibility for it. And I know there could be people listening right now, like, oh, well, buses are delayed, trains, like, remember, we're expressing one example. It's just what I believe the core of the message is be conscious of what is repeating a lot in your life that you do not want more of. Wow, oh my gosh, just that alone, I feel like I have so much to ask you. So, because just being a very visual person, I'm having a vision of like you and your client in person, and imagining how that carries out. Or is it very much always, even if you knew the person and they could come and have a session with you, is it all very much remote work? Like you?
Yeah. So in terms of the client work, I only work with 2 clients at a time, and I work with them for a year.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So when I'm getting called into other people's dreams, so that I'm not, working with on a client basis, that will be sporadic. I might get called in once, I might get called in several times in a week, I might not get called in for another 6 months. It's going to be about their journey, and again, that's all agreed and dealt with from our higher selves. But when I work with a client, it's we're going in, a commitment has been made between the 2 of us for every night. We're going to be going in and we're going to be getting into that trauma. So yeah, super intense work. But in terms of remotely, so yeah, it's basically when I go to sleep and when the client goes to sleep, or whoever the person is, then so it's not even something that I have learned to do in this lifetime. I'm very confident there's been many trainings happened in previous lives, to get me to the level of ability that I have now within the dream space. But it's nothing, I haven't learned to do it. I don't I do set intentions when I'm working with clients, because we're looking at what's coming up and what the limits. We're working through it, so intentions are set, but they don't necessarily need to be. That gives it more power and more strength. The work is happening regardless of any of that. And as I say, I literally go to sleep. I have no idea what's going to happen until I'm there. I become lucid.
Oh my goodness!
Wow. And then I'm doing the work, basically.
I have never heard of this before, and I'm so happy I asked you. Well, I know obviously it's about you and celebrating you, but yeah, I've heard quite a lot of things, but I have never heard that, and I'm wow. So when you say you go to sleep and the client goes to sleep, because I'm also thinking about, like when someone says walk over there, and you now know you need to walk, and all of a sudden like you're like conscious of your walking. Is this very much you are leading them to help them relax and go to sleep also? Because I can imagine, I'm just thinking about me, and if say we had a call and then it's like, right, so we're gonna go to sleep at whatever, and we've made out, and I know I feel like I would be like, I need to go to sleep, but I can't go to sleep, and I'm supposed to be asleep. I just know what I'm like.
Yeah, but to be honest, it really is a natural thing. So it's not a case of, right, you go to sleep at this time and I'll go to sleep and we'll meet up there. It's they go to bed at whatever time they're going to bed. I go to bed when I want to go to bed.
Okay.
It just happened because
I'm actually time, as we know.
I'm actually in dream time for probably 11 hours a night. So even if they go to bed like hours before or after me, there's still going to be and as you said, time doesn't really exist, and even if we had an hour's layover, there's still so much work that can be done in time, in inverted commas, because as you say, what is time anyway?
Goodness. So this is actually also, sorry to interrupt you, but I just think this is fascinating. So you are like, I really want to like celebrate you for this. So not only, right, you're not only connected with the client, you're doing incredible work, but you're doing it at the point of when it's your time for sleeping, and you're like this superhero going through time and space. Like, I hope you're getting enough sleep, hon.
As a challenge, for referring to me as a superhero, I've not had that one before, so thank you.
No, but you're changing people's lives, so
thank you. No, and thank you for honouring that and for recognising that. It has been a bit of a journey within my own self in terms of that. Because I've always done this, whether knowingly or not. I've always done it. So back when
that's what I was going to ask you. Where did this start? But please continue.
Bring that in.
Yeah.
So yeah, So even as a stockbroker, when I'm, working crazy hours and getting up at 5 a.m. every morning and having to be on form, I'm still doing this every night. And so I was absolutely drained, exhausted. Obviously, I'm super stressed anyway. My HPA axis, your pituitary and hypothalamus and adrenals, super triggered. So what actually often happens, and it happened last night as well, is that I feel like I'm awake all night. I can have really, really mad insomnia. It's got a lot better because I've been working on my health and various things with myself.
Absolutely.
Mad insomnia.
Can't pour from an empty cup.
No, exactly. And I've had to really, really readjust my whole lifestyle to be able to get myself into balance and to be strong. But yeah, I can have like this mad insomnia where I think I'm awake. As far as I'm concerned, I'm awake all night. The only reason I know I'm not awake is because I'm aware that I'm dreamweaving. So the rest of my body thinks or believes, understands itself to be asleep. But this HPA axis is wide awake. It's like there's a light on, and it's so stressful when it's like that, because I can hear everything going on around me. My brain believes that I haven't slept, that I haven't rested, so it has been a journey with that, with, as I say, managing my own health, changing my lifestyle entirely to be able to be able to work in this way. I now generally don't get up until about midday. I go to bed about night, get up around midday, and that in itself was a huge adjustment, because I used to get up at 5 a.m. for so long as a stockbroker. I was a morning person. I believed myself to be that, and so suddenly I found that I couldn't meet friends for breakfast. Certainly I couldn't even meet them for lunch, because I would need a few hours once I've come back to the ground. So I wouldn't generally leave my house to meet people until about 5 o'clock in the afternoon, because that's the time that I need for myself to to ground and to be back to myself. So huge changes have had to be made, but many people know we're going through a huge shift in consciousness right now.
Absolutely. And just before you explain like where this all began, because I would be very interested to know, because I just feel like it happened maybe when you were younger, so I don't know, but I hear exactly what you're saying. I think this is a really important message, what you've just said there, because I think and especially at certain changes, there's many changes in our life and many things we experience, and I think this whole wake up, is it's daytime, everyone up, it's nighttime, everyone asleep, it's this, who even made that up? We like what you said, imagine all the different complex emotions and things you were navigating while still trying to almost be in two different worlds of oh, but I have to be this way because not saying that's what happened, but because that's the part of this job and that's the way everyone else is. And I remember recently with something that's happened in my life, and it being things to do with just not sleeping properly and things like that. And I'm no, I give myself permission. If I've lost some sort of sleep or I've not slept well, I give myself permission to have that back. I give myself, you don't always have to have a bath at night time. If I want a bath in the day, I'll have a bath a day. And I know this sounds like really small things, but who said that we have to do this way only? And so I'm so happy that, because essentially you've been given a really unique gift, I believe, and as a result of your not prior life but other factors in your life that you picked, you could have basically just put that to the side and not pursued it, not stepped into who you truly felt, and something that was heavily, I believe, knocking on your mind, your body, whatever. And that's when I think we have these things come up in us that we're just back to what you said about people with all the suppressing, because you just know, you don't always know exactly what it is, but I feel like you kind of did, but there's just this incoherence, there's just this something that just keeps knocking, keeps calling. And it's not saying you didn't even like being a stockbroker. You might have loved that, but there's something sometimes where it's like, no, this is what you're supposed to be doing. And I think it takes a very brave person to do that and to really step fully into it. So yeah, sorry, I just felt like I really wanted to share that with you.
And I totally agree. We're conditioned into being a certain way, and like you say, the alarm goes off, everybody gets up. I don't think people realize the importance of sleep either.
Yes.
If I hadn't slept, and again, I lived my life like this, as getting up at 5 a.m, doing the dream weaving at night, which I didn't even understand what I was doing, and I was exhausted. The difference in my personality back then to what it is now.
Yeah.
Moody, stroppy, stressed, and of course the job created all of that, and there was, I wasn't aligned with myself. I wasn't being who I came here to be. I was, performing, trying to fit in, trying to be like everybody else, trying to succeed, etc., etc. So there was a lot of other things at play as well. But even much later on, I started, when I quit my job and got myself more into alignment with who I am, etc., I would really notice the difference. Like if I had to set an alarm on a morning, so I stopped doing that. I'd still wake up early, but if I had to set an alarm and I had to wake up before I was ready, the difference in my psyche. Yes. I'm actually going to use the word insane, because the insanity that was going around in my psyche, exhausted. So that sleep is huge, and the whole society is being conditioned to get up, set your alarm, get up and go and perform, and coming back to yourself without allowing yourself to actually come back, actually take a moment and bring back what has come from that dream. I can tell you there is so much going on there, and even when I work with clients, there's a huge difference that happens with a client who has to get up and set an alarm in the morning. So they're aware of stuff going on in the night, but they get up and then the alarm goes off, it's gone. Whereas when I've said to them, just try and give yourself, even if it's just at the weekends, stop setting the alarm, just give yourself a moment to come round and be with what's just happened. And the difference that they would notice in themselves, like, oh my goodness, like I'm remembering this and how I'm feeling and what I'm bringing back. It's a huge thing. Yeah, I personally think that the setting of alarms and sending us off to work at an early hour is very much
and you think about all the little kiddie winks, like even from a young age we're kind of programmed into that way, and it's so interesting. I don't know why, I just feel like this is really important to mention before you continue your incredible everything that's unfolding in your life. It's like so fascinating, but it's so interesting how things come sometimes, and you're forced into a situation in order to get the wisdom and the insight and the clarity. So for example, when I was in Bali, this particular place that I was staying in, a homestay, whatever we call it, had no curtains. And at first I was like, how on earth am I going to sleep? And I was there a long time, and do you know what I noticed? I started getting up naturally with the sun, and I was full of energy, and I was revitalized, and I started getting into the sync with the light. And now I have curtains, I have that, but I purposely and like people, even when people have come to stay and stuff, they're really like, I can't sleep, and it's like I get it, we're all different. But for me now, I never ever set alarms, and even if I have things for like 9 in the morning, I'm always up, and I'm so fresh, even if I've not slept well, at like up with the sun all the time. And that's how it used to be though, wasn't it? So that was the alarm.
Yeah, exactly. It's natural alignment, and everyone's natural alignment is different. Some will, like that you say, the sun comes up, most people are going to wake up to the sun, but some people might wake up a bit later or whatever. But that's, we can apply that to the greater, to the great, I can't think the word I'm looking for, but bigger than just sleep, to more than that.
Absolutely.
Alignment is their own, and we have been forced and conditioned to be out of alignment with nature and out of alignment with ourselves, and this is what's causing so many of the trauma. If we want to go back to the dream weaving, the work there, so many of that misalignment within ourselves, that disconnect from ourselves, disconnect from each other, disconnect from nature, and we're all kind of conditioned to be the same. Our schooling system conditions us to be the same, to be society's money makers, right? and this is something actually that I do talk about a lot, is that, you know, we all have our own natural gifts and talents and dreams. But when we go to school, a lot of people's natural gifts and talents aren't nurtured. If your natural gift is to be good at maths or science, then that's great. You know, that's nurtured.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
society.
You know, applaud, like, academic, but
if it's something different, it's not nurtured. And so when we go to school and our natural gifts and talents, who are the very essence of who we are, aren't nurtured, we're made to feel that those gifts aren't good enough. And if the natural essence of who we are isn't good enough, then we're not good enough. So that creates a disconnect within ourselves. And then, you know, I always say, I can't remember where we started on this actually, but I know where I'm going now. So
but I feel like we're doing our own little weave in. I love it. Sorry. Keep going. I am trying to keep it back to the points that I promised people that we're going to talk about, so don't worry.
Bring me in if I go off on one. But yeah, so you know, these natural gifts and talents, I believe these natural gifts and talents that we have, they actually are the tools that exist within us, that we have brought forth to be able to create the dreams that we came forth with. So again, this is part of my work as a dream weaver. It's not just the night dream weaver, I also work as the day dream weaver, as I call it, is to help people to reconnect with their natural gifts, talents, and dreams. And so those dreams that we hold, they are actually so much more important than what we understand them to be. Most of us have disconnected from our dreams. We're following somebody else's dream. We're following society's dream, our own, which actually has ended up creating a nightmare rather than a dream, right? So, but those natural dreams that we will come forth with, that our natural gifts and talents are the tools for us to be able to help the dreams become manifest. They serve more than just us. If we follow that dream, we actually become aligned and happy and we live in rest of it. But actually it's way more than that, because those dreams are actually our dreams form parts of the blueprint for the whole new world that we now have the opportunity to create. So if we all hold a different part of this blueprint, we all hold a different part of the jigsaw puzzle. So when we actually reconnect and make manifest those dreams that exist within us, it would not only make us happy, but we actually also create a collective movement as well, because we're putting our own piece of the puzzle, our own piece of the blueprint for the whole new world together. So, you know, it's such a huge
and energy is felt. So if you're aligning with joy, you're aligning with happy, you know, not happiness, because I think that's love. Love, joy, laughter, not even contentment, because, like, you know, but you know what I'm trying to say, when you're aligning as much as possible, because we are supposed to still experience all the lovely emotions and frequencies, but as much as possible, when you are in coherence and alignment, that's felt. People don't know what it is, but they just feel it. And I do believe it radiates out. Like, even if I'm walking down the street and I'm just in my head thinking of things I'm grateful for, I notice more people smile at me. People can say, oh, that's just coincidence. And we're all entitled to what we think. But I notice that when I'm internally thinking and creating and aligning with something beautiful that feels good in my body, I notice people go out of their way to help me more. People smile at me, people say hello. When I'm maybe in my thoughts and I'm a little like, oh, should I do that today? And I'm thinking, I notice people kind of, sometimes, you know, you miss things, they bump into each other, or people, you know, almost don't see you and things like that. And I don't know, I do know, I believe that everything is energy. Everything is energy, everything is felt, and often we can't see it, but you have to see it often before you can believe it, which is another thing we were taught, that you should see, look, see, it's true. Both, but mainly the other one.
Basically, every physical, everything that's physical has an energetic component to it, and it starts as energy first, and then we bring
matter.
That through our thoughts and our emotions, etc. So yeah, I totally agree. And with what you're saying as well, it's like, you know, that what you're giving out, you receive, is, you know, the idea of that. So when you're giving out joy and contentment and happiness and what have you, you don't necessarily know you're giving it out, you're just feeling that, but you are giving. you're going to receive that back.
And it's beautiful. And you know, for anyone who maybe is challenging that in their mind, because it's our mind, you know, when our mind doesn't know something new, it likes to challenge it. That's the purpose of the mind. But as we know, your mind can run the show, or you can help your mind run the show. So just constantly challenge it, give it a go. Okay, but you know what, she said this, let me see. Try it. What's the worst that could happen? You could have more smiles and people being kind to you. Well, that sounds like an awful problem to have. And I know there's so much I still want to ask you, and I want to be really conscious of time, but I do, just because we said it and it was a little promise, but I would just love to know, because I know you said there was very much, you wasn't aware that you were doing it, but you were in a way, and I guess you're a little confused about what was happening. But where did this all really first stem from and start? Because I don't know, I'm just very intrigued.
Yeah, it's hard to say really, because I know stuff was going on when I was very, very young. I was aware of lots of things. I mean, I couldn't give you examples or really remember much now, but I just had an awareness when I was super young. And then I know that through when I first went to school, again, we've spoken about that, this school, this conditioning system, you know, you get disconnected from the truth of who you are, from yourself. And so I don't really remember having many memories at school of these things happening. But when I was 17, I actually did have a near-death experience. And as a result of that, when I sort of came back to myself, this was then when things really, really started to happen. And so I started to become aware of people walking around my room a lot. And again, I used to see spirit when I was young as well. But yeah, I hadn't really remembered seeing much or having many experiences through the school time, or school years. But yeah, around 17, I started to see people walking in my room a lot, people sitting at the end of my bed and sort of trying to chat to me and ask me.
To actually seeing as well. Wow,
yeah.
Not many people that feel energy, but seeing it, wow. And that's, not to interrupt, but that's so interesting, because as a child, you probably just thought that was real. Yeah, children are so innocent, aren't they?
Think of all the imaginary friends that the children have, and we dismiss it, but I don't think many of them actually are.
I know, there's so much that, like, yeah, anyway, well, that's another rabbit hole, but please continue.
This was happening, and then I was just really aware in dreams. I was just very, very conscious of leaving my body and just going somewhere else. So I was just off doing all sorts. I had, loads of incredible experiences. I remember sitting in a beautiful garden with a guy who had actually he'd died. He was very young, late teens or something, and he'd passed away. And I remember having a beautiful experience just sitting with him in a garden. And when I came back to myself, when I woke up the next day, I remember just feeling, and this is at 17, 18 years old, I remember feeling I've never felt so close to God. I just felt that strong connection. I was there's so many different things. I was just aware of just going off and being in so many different places, and I just knew I wasn't in my body. But it was really challenging to come back, not so much the physical coming back, so to speak, but the getting up the next day.
Yes.
So it's like, I remember feeling like walking to work and just feeling like a 90-year-old woman. I was so drained and so exhausted. Of course, my alarm's going off at 5 a.m. At this point in time as well, I'm young, I'm out, I'm enjoying myself, I'm burning the candle at all ends. I think somewhere in the middle the ends, it was quite on. And then this happening at night as well, so it was very intense, and it was too much. It took quite a few years for me to sort of understand what was going on. Went to see a medium. I had an experience in dream time, actually, that I think my parents came into my bedroom in the dream, and they were like, "What's going on, Niaby? We need to, come on, what's going on? We need to work this out." And with that, I said, "Well, can you not see all the people in my room? Can you? They just want to come and they just want to. I can't remember what they said. But they want to come and ask questions, or they want to share wisdom, or whatever it might be." So with that, I was like, okay, there's something around the mediumistic, the mediumistic side here. So I actually went to see a medium. I eventually ended up spending 10 years developing my own mediumistic abilities. But at that point, I think I was maybe 23 by this point. So it'd been going on for quite a few years. Very. And I went to see a medium and I just said, how to make it stop. And they just said, right, okay, well, you know, just acknowledge that the spirit's there, acknowledge what's going on, and just say, you know, I acknowledge you, but you know, I need this to stop. And so I did that for a few nights, and I just said, look, I will come back to this at some point, but just now's just not the time. And so with that, actually, it really, everything calmed down. The spirit walking around my room, all of that stopped. The intensity of the astral travel side of it, you know, me leaving my body and being aware of all of those journeys, that really calmed down. There was still, you know, I think there's been one night in my whole life that I remember where I went to sleep and then woke up in the morning, and that was that. And I sort of woke up and went, oh my God, that's what that feels like. You know, everything, all I remember is going to sleep. For the rest of me, the whole night is full on. There's so much going on, and I'm aware of so much, and so that continued, but just not to the intensity that it was before. And it was during lockdown that things took, they said it took another turn. It went a little bit further. So until then, I started to become more and more aware of what was going on in dreams. I started to realize that I could use them to heal myself. I started to realize that I could use them to spend time with people that maybe life circumstances had meant that I could no longer spend time with them, but on the soul level we could still I started to mess, not to mess around, but to play around with astral travel and go like, okay, well, let's try to control it. Let's try to do it deliberately. Let's make this happen instead of it just happening naturally. So I went through, a lot of just, experimenting and playing around. But in lockdown, this is when things really stepped up, actually. I remember waking up one morning, probably about 7-8 in the morning. So this is now, that was like the normal time for me to get up now. But what started happening is I wasn't getting up until like 11-12 o'clock during lockdown. And I had this experience around 7-8 in the morning, and I woke up and I was paralyzed, and it was like, oh my God, what's going on? And I just had this knowing, so, oh, it's okay, it's just the fear of humanity working its way through my body. I just have to let it work its way through. Everything's okay. And I was like, oh, great, okay. And I kept getting pulled in and out of sleep and waking up and feeling this fear moving through my body. And what was happening, I was helping to transmute that fear of humanity through my body. That happened on quite a few occasions. And you can imagine during the fear of humanity at any time is pretty intense, but during lockdown, the fear was quite strong then. So I was transmuting this through my body. And I say that's when I started to then find that I was getting pulled even deeper into the dream stuff. I was getting pulled back in the morning, not being able to get up until 11-12 o'clock. Started to become more aware of, again, I did know I'd always done this, but started to become more aware of the work that I was doing on a global level. So not just working with an individual in their dreams, but going off on missions, if you like, through the galactic universe, and helping to just helping to shift some of the stuff that's going on right now. So that's when it started to really step up for me. But I was only kind of really, given the go ahead, if you like, the green light to start working with clients in this way once I had reached a certain level of mastery within my own self.
Of course, you need to hold the capacity,
to the capacity to be able to hold space for somebody. To obviously, I'm going into very traumatic places anyway. And so I had to clear my own trauma. Again, not saying that I don't still have some left to go, we've all, it's a work in progress, but I've cleared it to a level that I can go in and not be reactionary or not, feel re-traumatized by the experience, because I'm having those experiences become my experiences. It's like I'm having those experiences.
Well, that's what I heard you say earlier, of you're feeling the suppression and the energy, and I hope these people are paying you a lot of money, let me put it that way, and I mean that in the most kindest way, but so
most of the work I do, to use the American term, is pro bono. You know, I'm getting called into so many people's dreams, which isn't to do with, you know, physically getting paid, and so I'm doing that work for free, and generally unacknowledged as well, because, you know, people do remember me being in their dreams. Absolutely. I've had that, you know, many people, like, even years ago, before I knew what was going on, saying, I saw you in my dream last night and you were healing me. And I'd be like, yeah, I do that, yeah. But not really knowing the full capacity of it. But of course, there are many people who's, you know, I'm getting into people's dreams every night. There are many people who, you know, don't know I'm a dream weaver. They haven't, you know, they haven't spoken to me in years or heard.
They now do.
They might, yes.
Keep putting it out there, girl. Keep getting your message out there. You deserve it. You deserve it. As I said, it's wow, absolutely such a unique and, I believe, very, you know, high responsibility gift that you've been given.
Yeah, it's definitely
and I think that says it as well. Sorry to interrupt you, but okay, people could say, oh, you know, we don't. Anyway, we're past the people saying thing anyway. You get to a point in your growth where, you know, like water off a duck's back or whatever, you know, we say. But when you hear other people have said, I saw you in my dream, like this is what people need to really realize, okay? Regardless of what people say, what people share, we're all on our own unique journeys. This is not just something that you're just doing and then saying, I did that last night. People are coming to you and you are equally, it's a joint, everyone has free will and you are joining together. And you have very openly said, you know, you're not just, oh yeah, this many people I'm taking on. Like, you're talking about the intensity of it and the responsibility you have. And I just really want to, like, honor you, because not only were you navigating this for so long, but there's a knowing, and we all deep down know what we're supposed to be doing. Generally, like, once we start getting curious about it, but there's another level of actually doing it. And so I really I'm glad that you not just come on to here, but you keep showing up, you keep expressing your truth, you keep standing in your power and really claiming what you are doing, because as you said, and it's consciousness, it's not a new world, like it's consciousness, and the more you can share your voice, and even if someone listening right now takes from this that you were brave enough to share your story, your voice, and stand in your truth, so they can have permission and feel brave enough. Wow. For me, that's tick done. Like, of course, connect with this incredible woman. All her details are going to be in the description, but if that's one thing someone takes from this today, is that if you can be brave enough to share your truth, then whoever's listening, you can as well.
I completely agree. Yeah, completely agree. And that is part of the work that I do, is helping people to reconnect with purpose, whether it's in the mentorship side of things, where I'm, you know, working on that deep level, or whether it's more through, you know, my company where I create books and music and various different things.
Yes, I mean, we've not even touched on all of that, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like time, but it's just been
I know. Yeah. That's what I said at the beginning, that there's so much that I never know what direction to go in either, because there's so much going on. But it's just to say that, you know, with that, the work that I'm doing is about inspiring people to be who they came here to be, and reconnecting with your purpose. And as you said yourself there, somewhere deep down, everybody does know this. You know, people do know that there's something more. They do know that there's something else they're meant to be doing. And this is, you know, we spoke about the schooling system and everything earlier, this disconnect. But we've got a society of people just walking around like zombies, because they're, no disrespect to anybody who is walking around like a zombie, but, you know, people are doing that, and I was one myself, because
same.
we were just being somebody else. I say we were following somebody else's dream. We were living somebody else's life, the life that we were told we were meant to live, and it creates such a huge disconnect. It creates disharmony. It creates dis-ease. It creates all of those different things. And so when people do have the courage to reconnect back to themselves and back to the truth of who they are and the gifts, the natural gifts and passions and the dreams that they're here to bring forth, that shifts everything. It shifts it on the personal level, and it shifts it on the collective level as well. And it does take courage. It does. It's not an easy journey, and it's not something that we can just do overnight. And I say that as a dream weaver who works overnight. It's a long journey, but it's such a worthwhile one, because I say it's not only bringing you back home to yourself, but you have the capacity then to affect the collective consciousness, because when you become the best possible version of yourself, you inspire others to do the same.
Absolutely.
So yeah, it's an important.
And I think what you've so beautifully highlighted as well is, you know, there may be some people that are like, well, no, I've never experienced that, and I don't experience that. No, because do you know what? Some people are supposed to be stockbrokers. Some people are supposed to be builders. Some people are supposed to be. That's the whole thing. It's not like, okay, let's all find this whatever. No, we still need this world to. But what I believe, and again, I'm not putting words into your mouth, but what I believe that we're trying to express here is, you know, if there's something, like, I loved teaching. I loved teaching. I thrived off it. But every single year, even though I never woke up and dreaded going to school, I loved it. But there was always something that was yearning for a little bit more. Other people, they didn't have that yearning, and that's fine, because they are in alignment with what they feel like they're called to do. Some people are definitely not also in teaching in that alignment. But there was something about me, and even though I never had this satisfaction, and I was, you know, people never wanted me to leave the position, but every year there was always this, and it was always in the summer holidays, where I really felt my energy raised back again, my passions, everything come back, my voice. And then I'd be like, I've got to go and do it again. And it was the repetition of it. But it was something so much more within me that was just like, I know this is not what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm thankful, but I did that because that's what I was told to do. And
you're still a teacher now, if you look at it that way. You know that you've moved into different work, but the work that you're doing is still teaching.
And I see how it all perfectly aligned. And I'm sure what you've done, nothing ever, this is the beauty, and I'm sure you're the same with this, every single thing that we have actually done has a purpose in everything we are about to do. I believe that in some way, somehow. Really, what a pleasure to have this conversation with you. And like I said, there's so much more I really want to talk about with you. But I really believe that you're going to inspire many people that are going to even just listen to your journey, your story, what you're creating. And I'm sure if there's anyone that's definitely like me, and I'm sure there's many people that are, they will definitely be wanting to reach out to you to find out more. And may you continue to just be abundantly blessed with many more opportunities, and the right people come to you that really need your incredible gift that you have been blessed with. So
thank you much. No, I really appreciate all of your kind words and for inviting me on the show. It's been a real pleasure.
You're so welcome. And equally, because this is your episode and I don't want to leave anything left unsaid, if there is anything right now that you still feel like you would just like to share, feel free. But yeah, really it's been really beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, there's so much more to share, but I think that would be a whole other episode.
Yeah.
Happy just to leave it
and
there.
We can make that happen. That's fine. We can, I feel like this needs a lot of integration, and then we can let that settle. But yeah, thank you. And I always say, just off the top of your head, if there's something that you feel like someone listening right now would really benefit from hearing, it doesn't have to be about what we've just said. What would you say to them?
I think it's just going back to reconnecting with your purpose, because as you said before, butcher, baker, candlestick maker. You know, all of these people are needed. It doesn't matter whether you're a dream weaver or a butcher. You know, as long as you're aligned with who you are and who you came here to be. You know, just be in alignment with yourself, because as I say, when you really truly become you, that's when the shifts happen. And you don't, this is, again, we haven't got time to go into this as much as I would have liked to, but you know, that we don't just, when we take the journey to heal ourselves, to align with ourselves, to really become ourselves, we don't just change ourselves, we actually change the world. This is what I say a lot, you know, we change the world one individual journey at a time, and people don't recognize how much of their own personal journey, and just making that one conscious decision which leads to another conscious decision, they don't realize the impact that actually has on the collective. So if you can be you,
absolutely. And I think even with what you express, really wise words, someone once said as well, and I think that is a part of the soul journey, if you'd like to call it, can you actually, when you're maybe not sure of what it is, can you be happy washing that car? Can you be happy, whatever it is, the job you're doing? Can you still in that moment connect to that love, connect to that joy, even when you know it's not still something you see or feel yourself doing full time? Can you still create that beautiful energy around what you are doing? And because you know, I think some people are in these situations, and I believe we can all change it some way, somehow, but where they do feel like they've got their kind of hands behind their back and they're forced into certain positions. But can you in that moment still give yourself the permission and the love and the compassion to still make the most of your situation? And it sounds easy in principle, but you know, it's definitely something I learn and I'm still learning, and it's really powerful actually, because you take that power back.
Yeah, exactly. And it doesn't have to be as dramatic as a whole shift in career. You know, like you said, some people have got, you know, they're managing kids and all kinds of different things, don't have that option. But it's just finding something that brings you joy. So, you know, we might have always wanted to play a trumpet but never had the time to do it. You know, it doesn't mean that you're going to become, you know, a trumpet player in some big brass band. You don't give up your job to then go and do that. It's just something that brings you joy, that bring that joy, that following that passion, no matter how big or small it is. That's what brings you back into alignment with yourself. So,
absolutely. Beautiful, really. Thank you so much. You've been an incredible guest.
Been a real pleasure. Thank you.
That's the magic that Zest is in.